So we turn now to discussing the institutional arrangements of social security policy in Australia. As we started highlighting before, social security policy is really a contested policy domain, same as what we mentioned regarding health policy and other policy areas. So we also looked at the goals of social security policies in the Australian social policy history, and we've realized that one of the core goals is poverty alleviation. And we looked at the concept of poverty as one of the risks which is being addressed by Australian social security policies. The second goal, as we said, is income replacement. And this is, again, very much linked to looking at the loss of income as another risk that people who are working might face at some point. And social security policies really over history in Australia have addressed that specific goal as well. And the third goal is promoting re-entry into employment for people who are not working or people who are experiencing unemployment at some point. So we've discussed about all these notions in the previous recordings. But maybe just a few reminders that different political parties, of course, will prioritize different goals. You'll see that some government might tend to prioritize poverty alleviation over income replacement. And again, all those speaks to, the different political traditions and the beliefs, which again are quite different among different political parties. For example, if you look at the LNP's policy statement, you'll see that they often emphasize promoting re-entry into employment, while parties such as the Greens and even to some extent the Australian Democrats, which we are considering, might tend to prioritize poverty alleviation. So really good insight to start taking into account as you think about your second assessment, in case you might choose to work with the social security policy statement. And of course, broadly, when reading social security policies, it is quite insightful to consider which of these goals informs the perspective of different political parties or policy actors, as we said. So in essence, now we are looking at the institutional arrangements in place to address different social security policy measures in Australia. And first and foremost, the federal government is responsible for, social security policy. The second biggest agent is Services Australia, formerly known as Department of Human Services, which is more or less in charge of delivery or operationalizing, things like Centrelink, Medicare, and child support programs. So two important actors, the federal government, which is broadly overseeing the general policy or politics of social security, but at the operational level, the more operational level, you'll find Services Australia. Shall really discuss more about that. But another point I really want to make clear here is that social security is one of these areas where there is a restricted role of private actors. And this is quite different from what we said when we discussed about health. We said in week 6 that health is one of the social policy sectors where you see a clear and very structured partnership between private and public actors. Whereas for social policy, the role of private actors is not that much. It's not kind of very well structured, and much of, many of the responsibilities here really lay with the government or the public sector. So really good to start, considering this distinction as well and how Social Security differs from, other policy sectors. So another very important aspect of Social Security policy is around its funding and its provision. And here we really have to acknowledge that while the government continues to fund the Social Security system through general revenue, the assessment for payments and the administration of activity tests now involves a range of third-party providers drawn from the private and non-profit sectors. So where private actors intervene in Social Security policy, they tend to have specific missions, but the kind of mandatory missions still lies with the government. You will see, the Department of Social Services being, leading, the leading agency in charge of, many tasks related to Social Security. They are primarily responsible for developing and designing the policies and the programs that make up the Social Security system. So in a sense, when we really speak about, even the funding system, at the heart of this, we are thinking of the Department of, Social Services and the Australian government in general. So it's a kind of a government thing. It's a public thing rather than really a private thing. So, but of course, we still have to acknowledge the role of other actors, such as Centrelink, which we shall speak about in details, Service Australia, and all these private kind of agencies still play some role in the social security sector. But again, it's not that detailed or that intense when compared to, you know, other sectors such as health, or even education and other policy sectors we shall be looking at in the future. So the other stakeholders which sometimes and very often intervene in social security sector include, employment service providers. These might include organizations like Max Employment, which we saw on the previous slide, Russo, Sarina, at Work, Australia, and so on and so forth. So these really work closely with recipients to help them find employment. And they keep helping people enhance their skills through training and meet their requirements imposed by Social Security, such as, job applications, volunteering activities. And the idea is, again, to meet what we referred to in week one as the mutual obligations. So other stakeholders include legal services, which help really review, claims of people, or even where people might have disputes regarding how social security agencies are treating them. Then you have, administrative appeal tribunals or even community legal centers, which play a key role here in assisting people and making sure that their disputes or whatever claim they are making can be taken in charge. We also have a number of charity organizations working closely with people and even at times advocating for them. Things like consumer groups or welfare rights centers, all those play a key role, but at a secondary layer of social security, helping to advocate for people in cases where they have, issues with how the social security system is really treating them.